Just weeks removed from Khamzat Chimaev's title-winning performance, the middleweight division is already buzzing with debates over who's next, and according to former champion Kamaru Usman, Nassourdine Imavov has locked it in, but not everyone agrees. Henry Cejudo immediately pushed back, saying the UFC could easily go in another direction, and that's where the division gets interesting. While most MMA fans came away unimpressed by Imavov's showing against Caio Borralho, he has built up a strong win streak, and in his own words, he's done everything necessary to deserve this opportunity. Imavov himself is extremely confident the next shot is his, but in a division as stacked as 185, timing is everything. Rainier de Ridder and Fluffy Hernandez are headlining in Vancouver, and one flashy dominant win there could easily put the winner ahead of Imavov. That's the reality of the game. One good performance, especially in a main event, could be all it takes to leapfrog right into title contention. Let's dive in and see what Kamaru and Henry had to say in their latest episode of Pound for Pound.
Who right now in that middleweight division you would say deserves a title shot more than Nassourdine Imavov?
You're right. You're right, but remember what we always say all the time, the UFC will always have something up their sleeve. RDR or the winner of RDR, and these guys, they put on a performance where you can slide in Kush. We see it in the past.
You are wrong. No,
dude, let's go to the co-main event, Kush. Kush, you can be here all day.
Before we move on to,
but I agree with you, Kush. I 100% agree with you for what he's done. But this isn't the Olympics, Kamaru. What I'm saying is he can easily get skipped from a good performance from RDR or the Fluff Dog. 100%.
Arman Tsarukyan just went off on Ilia Topuria again, throwing shade at the lightweight champion following his massive KO win over Charles Oliveira at UFC 317. Arman says Ilia tends to gas out when pushed and doesn't have high-level grappling. He confidently stated that both he and Islam Makhachev would easily hold Ilia down in a fight. Arman also teased his game plan, hinting that he already knows how to dismantle Ilia's striking-heavy style and expose the holes in his ground game. The beef between these two has been brewing for a while, and now with El Matador holding the belt, the stakes are even higher. Stylistically, it's a fascinating clash. Arman's relentless pressure and wrestling versus Ilia's knockout power and slick boxing. And while this fight is definitely not happening next, it feels very possible in the near future. The only thing holding it back is the UFC's lingering frustration with Arman after the fallout from his failed main event booking against Islam. Dana hasn't forgotten that, and that is the reason Arman is being kept just out of reach of the title shot for now. But if he grabs another big win and keeps the heat on, it's only a matter of time before Arman forces his way into a grudge match with Ilia. When it finally happens, expect fireworks. Here's what Arman had to say. He's a very good boxer, hits extremely hard, really heavy punches, and he's patient. He doesn't rush, he waits for his moment, doesn't force things. That's a very strong quality, and not many athletes have that. Even if he takes a shot, he doesn't panic, he stays calm, moves with precision. He has a high fight IQ. Those are his strongest traits. His weaknesses? It's the clinch. Specifically, in the clinch exchanges, he starts to gas out. That's where I'll need to focus, to take away that power of his. He hasn't faced strong wrestlers. There was only one guy, Bryce Mitchell. He's the only one who took him down and held him there, but even he isn't a high-level fighter, so I can't fully judge his grappling off that. But I know that guys like Islam, like myself, those kinds of wrestlers can take him down and control him without much trouble. Tsarukyan is expected to face Dan Hooker by the end of the year, with Ali Abdelaziz, who's got close ties to the UFC, confirming that's the most likely matchup in his latest appearance. With these fights shaping up, the lightweight picture is finally starting to take form, and fans are getting a clear look at how the division's top contenders are lining up for some serious fireworks. Fight fans, the moment we've all been waiting for is finally here. Ever since Arman Tsarukyan revealed he's not next in line to face Ilia Topuria, the speculation machine went into overdrive about who the lightweight champ would defend his belt against first. And now, Alvaro Colmenero has struck again with the scoop everyone's been waiting for. For those who don't know, Colmenero is one of the most trusted voices in Spanish combat sports journalism thanks to his direct access to UFC events and fighters. His work as director of ABC UFC MMA, and as a commentator for Eurosport's UFC coverage, he has connections few others can match. He's basically the Spanish version of Ariel Helwani, but less annoying maybe. Alvaro has a history of breaking every single Topuria fight before official announcements, including the UFC 317 showdown with Charles Oliveira, so when he reports, it's coming straight from the source, not speculation. On his latest YouTube show, he and his source dropped the big news. Ilia Topuria is set to face Justin Gaethje in January at UFC 324. Apparently, the UFC delayed Topuria's next fight until 2026 because of the Paramount deal, wanting to build him up instead of throwing him into a high-risk matchup. Facing Gaethje, who's nearing the end of his career, is seen as a stylistically favorable matchup for El Matador. The UFC has a long history of matching their stars with out-of-prime veterans to build momentum. No disrespect to Justin, who's a legend, but this is a perfect way to keep Topuria's rise unstoppable while giving the fans a big name fight.
Elegido va a ser Justin Gaethje.
The upcoming opponent is going to be Justin Gaethje. Ilia Topuria is one of the biggest faces in the UFC right now, alongside Khamzat Chimaev, and everything points to him returning at the start of 2026. The UFC is saving him for January because December historically isn't a major card. Right now, all indications are that Topuria's next challenge is Justin Gaethje. That's the fight they want to make first, giving Topuria a huge platform to start the year. Of course, other names like Paddy Pimblett or Arman Tsarukyan are in the mix, but Gaethje is the most likely. The UFC wants to start 2026 with a bang. Arman Tsarukyan is the biggest threat to El Matador in the division, but they're not rushing that fight yet. They want to build the hype and make sure El Matador is ready for someone of that level. As for the money fight with Paddy Pimblett, that's probably coming later in 2026, once the timing is perfect. So mark it down. It looks like Topuria versus Gaethje in January 2026, and it's set to be one of the biggest matchups in the lightweight division. End quote. Now the big question for fight fans, how do you see this matchup playing out stylistically? On paper, most expect a striking battle, but what if El Matador decides to lean on his grappling skills, the same grappling that many MMA fans tend to doubt compared to others in the division? Joe Rogan actually weighed in on this exact topic when breaking down Topuria face to face, pointing out how people often underestimate his ground game simply because he's so lethal on the feet.
When people see a guy who can strike like you do, they kind of forget about the ground game. You know, they forget that your ground game is very elite too. You know, which is really interesting because you tend to put people in categories of danger, but with you, it's all danger. Like you have a very well balanced game. You know, which is unusual.
Dana White just dropped a big update about the long-rumored White House event, and it's not exactly what fans were expecting. Originally, the plan was to have it in July, right around Independence Day, and the hype was crazy because fans were already pointing out how perfect of a coincidence it would have been with July 4th landing on a Friday next year. But Dana came out and said it's actually happening in June instead. He explained the reasoning too. Let's dive in.
It's more likely to be June than July. The president wanted to do it July 4th. The president didn't realize how stacked his schedule is on July 4th. He's in he's going to be in like 3 different states that day. So looking more like June.
That's it from MMA Psycho. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for daily MMA news.